What I'm currently really investing time thinking into is like, how can I just be more present and be content with who I am as a person in my life and not base my worth on what I am outputting and how much I am ticking off of my to-do list every day. And I think that will probably be a lifelong struggle for me.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. I am your host, John Santiago, and each week, in case you're new around here, I interview content creators about their stories, strategies, and experiences of building an online audience through video. And in the journey of becoming a creator, one of the biggest obstacles to overcome is often yourself. And on this week's episode of the podcast, I speak with YouTube creator Abbey Howe. Now, since the end of 2019, Abby's YouTube channel has grown to a little more than 30,000 subscribers at the time of this recording, thanks to an eclectic mix of comedic sketches as well as thoughtful commentary on the ever important subject of knowing thyself. Now, in this conversation, Abby and I discuss many things, including how she comes up with ideas for her channel, as well as how a background in theater led her to come to YouTube. But the heart of this particular conversation actually centers around tackling the low moments of being a creator. In this episode, we talk about dealing with self-doubt and insecurity as a creator, the difficulty of detaching your self-worth to your metrics and numbers and performance of your content, as well as the uncertainty around knowing when to give up versus when to keep going as a creator. We talk about all of that and much more on this particular episode of the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky, and we will get to that content here in a moment. But before we do, I want to remind all of you, if you are enjoying the podcast, make sure to share the episode wherever it is that you can share podcast episodes. Obviously, you can text message a link to this episode either on YouTube or the actual audio version of the podcast to friends, family, or anybody else. Share it on Instagram DM or Facebook message or wherever it is that you are messaging people these days. We always appreciate it when people go out of their way to go ahead and share the content that they are listening to. I don't want to take up too much of your time here with this introduction. Let's go ahead and jump into my conversation with Abbey Howe. Abbey Howe, thank you for joining me on this edition of the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. It's awesome to have you on. Great to connect with you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were connected by a mutual contact, obviously a previous guest of this very podcast, Michelle 14. I'm very glad that she did, because it seems like you're doing a lot of great things with your YouTube channel, and you're doing a lot of great things also as essentially like a brand strategist and content creator for businesses and whatnot. So this should be a fun conversation to have with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love Michelle. So she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I just did this podcast with this guy, Jon, and I had the best time. And so I trust her judgment. So I was like, all right, cool. I can't wait. But yeah, awesome. We're both kind of in a similar content space. So we've become friends over the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, that's cool. You've been able to, that's one of the benefits too, or the great things about creating content online, is that you're able to connect with other like-minded people. And I'm assuming that you guys were able to connect just through the fact that you both were creating this content around enneagram.
Yeah, it was like me and Leeann and Michelle are the only ones doing comedy enneagram things right now online. I'm sure more will come, but yeah, it was just the two of us. So it was easy to get on each other's radar, and we've been able to do a couple collabs with each other, and it's been really fun creatively just to connect with women who are funny and their moms, and it's really inspiring for me, because like I would love to still be creative and making things when I become a parent. It's not on the horizon right now, FYI, but I would like it to be. So it's really cool to have these people to look up to and be like, these women are doing it, and like I can do it too.
Yeah. So how many collabs did you guys do? Did you do 2 videos, one for your channel and one for their channel?
Yeah, we've done 4 collabs in total. So 2 for theirs and 2 for ours. 2 for theirs, 2 for mine. I don't have another person. I don't know why I use the plural. Yeah, so we've done 2 collabs each.
And the collaborations that you've done, what was I going to say? Because you're based in Los Angeles and they're based in Phoenix. So how did you guys end up connecting to do all of these things in person together?
We don't do them in person. Yeah, so we basically assign types. So you do 4, 5, and 6. And basically what we've been doing is writing our own scripts and then shooting them and sending the content over. So like they'll send me all their content, I'll edit it together. So we actually haven't done anything in person.
Oh, wow.
And obviously like it's been like, we didn't connect until 2020. So there was no traveling or meeting in person anyway. So all virtual.
Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, I never would have thought about that because when I've watched the videos, it would seem, of course, that's the magic of editing, right? Is that it would seem like they were filmed together in person, but obviously, again, with the magic of editing and post-production, you're able to put different scenes together, shot in different locations into one specific video.
Totally.
Let's go back. I want to talk, usually in this podcast, I like to talk to creators about their stories and just where they came from, obviously, how they ended up on this path of content creation. And it seems like from my research on you that you have a background in theater. Like you attended UC Irvine and you went and attended drama school there. Is that correct?
Yeah. You did your research.
Yeah. So were you always somebody that was interested in performance at a very young age, even before you went to college?
Yeah. So I grew up in the theater, whether it be backstage, ushering, auditioning. I fell in love with community theater and just was very active. That was my sport all through middle school, high school, and it was the one thing that really like sparked great joy for me. So it was like when I was picking colleges, it was like, well, I guess this is all I'm interested in, so I'll go do this. So yeah, I went to Claire Trevor School of the Arts at UC Irvine. I studied music.
Go Anteaters.
What? Yeah, Anteaters.
Go Anteaters.
Cool.
I did not go to UC Irvine. I did not go to UC Irvine, but I am a fellow UC graduate like you. I went to Davis.
You did?
So.
Okay. What's yours? Is yours Banana Slugs? Or no, that's Santa Cruz.
Oh, that's Santa Cruz. We are the Aggies.
What's the Aggie?
It's like a horse.
Oh,
it's like a horse, or like our mascot logo changed. I think within like the last, when I graduated in 2009, and they made it look more fierce. It kind of looks like the Denver Bronco, the NFL team, the Denver Broncos logo, kind of similar in that sense. Yeah. Ours is like some sort of horse, but you guys are the Anteaters. I know that.
Very, very unique mascot. And it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry about that. I interrupted you while you were explaining your story about going to UC Irvine.
Mascots. That's fun, and I love it. I wish I was the Santa Cruz Banana Slugs, because I always thought that was what a funny mascot to have, just a slug.
So random too.
I know.
It seems very like on brand with Santa Cruz though too.
Oh yeah.
Being a banana slug, but I'm not so sure. What's the deal with the Anteater? Do you even know where that came from?
Yeah. So UCI was one of the later schools to pop up. And so they had a limited choice. This is what I learned on my student tour or whatever. They had limited choices, and it was between an anteater and I believe a unicorn. And so they did a student vote and they all voted on the anteater. So that's how it got to be.
Okay. So how did you land at UC Irvine? What was it about their particular program that like appealed to you?
Well, I was looking at other schools in the area. Like, I'm from San Diego, so I was looking at Chapman and just UCLA. I didn't get into UCLA, otherwise I totally would have gone to UCLA. But yeah, I toured the campus and I saw some shows there, and I liked what I saw. I felt like I liked the trees, and I liked the idea that I would get like a well-rounded education, like taking you have to do all the general E's. So you do science classes and language classes, and you have to do all of those things in this big university while also getting like the performance tools that I wanted to get in school. And I loved that big university, like educational feeling. So that's ultimately what drew me to UCI.
And then so after you graduated from college, you relocated to Los Angeles. Makes sense, right? Like going to Los Angeles, or maybe the alternative for people with theater backgrounds, maybe moving to New York. Was there ever any thought on your end of potentially going to New York, or just because you're from San Diego, like wanting to stay based here in the West Coast was like your main priority?
Yeah. So in school, I did I did like a semester abroad in New York City, and I studied theater and stuff out there, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, New York is obviously a very magical, special place, but at the time I was struggling with mental health, and it just felt too much to fly across the country, leave everyone I know, my family, and start in this big, scary city. So for me at the time, Los Angeles felt like the right thing to do. And then, I got really into TV and film. And so it ultimately was a really good fit for me, because I was able to start doing some commercial auditions. I did a Toyota commercial. I was able to start learning on my own how to make my own stuff. And I was in a couple indie films, and I learned a ton. And it was just a really great place to learn how to be creative on your own, I guess.
Yeah, you have to be very much like a self-starter, or like kind of cultivate that kind of mindset if you're in Los Angeles, right? And at the same time, you also have to cultivate like some sort of resilience too, because I imagine you're going in for a ton of auditions and, landing some, not landing some. I mean, how did that experience kind of prepare you for where you are today with doing content on YouTube? Well,
I mean, I was getting rejected constantly. So either rejection by, getting no's in the audition room, but even just, I was having trouble getting in any doors. Yeah. I didn't have super great management, and my field was oversaturated, and I didn't really have anything special to bring to the table that was standing out at all. And I'm not a great auditioner either. So I was just getting a lot of no's, and things were just stuck. And so I was waitressing at a couple places, I was nannying, and I was frustrated and just, I was stuck. And my manager at the time was like, Abby, get on YouTube. Everyone's putting stuff on YouTube. And and I always did whatever she told me to do. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I started making little videos, filming them on my phone, just like random thoughts I had. I was getting really into comedy, taking classes at UCB, and it was really like opening up my brain into like what made me happy and what was interesting to me as like a creator. Mm-hmm. And that gave me a real sense of agency, because it was like, oh, I don't have to wait for someone to tell me yes in a room, or to even get into a room. I could just make my own room and start creating things. And I think that's how that started. It was really honestly very life-giving, because I just felt crappy. You're working for other people and building up their dreams and their businesses. And I was raising their kids, and I felt like I had nothing of my own to nurture and to work on. And so, YouTube gave me that outlet.
Yeah, I imagine too, it's like it can be debilitating at times to think about like all that you had invested into building yourself up by going to school and whatnot, and then getting into the real world and finding it very challenging. I can empathize with that, because I've had, I went to school and, ticked off all the boxes and did all the right things. And then you get into the real world and you're like, oh my gosh, like, am I actually cut out for this? Like, I thought I was good, but maybe there's a little bit of that self-doubt that you feel when you get punched in the face, like a couple different times, right?
Totally. It's the sunken cost kind of thing. Like, it's like, wow, I've put that. I think that was what was hard for me, becoming like, going out into my own life, building my own life in Los Angeles. Was my whole life I want to do theater. I want to be an actor. Like, that is my only thing, you know? And I came out here and I was like, well, like it's just hard. And like, I wasn't happy, and I felt like I was just too late. Like everyone who was my age and getting jobs had been working in the industry since they were like 5 or 10, and like just they had experience that I just did not have. And so that can be really frustrating because it's kind of like a turning point of like, you have to be like, okay, well, who am I and what do I want to do with my life? And how can I integrate like this love that I have for this thing and make it my own? I guess. I don't know. What did you go to school for that? Yeah,
I went to school I studied at Davis. I studied communication, and I did it because I already had like internships. I was already working in the industry that I wanted. I was working in professional sports and in media. Like I wanted to be like a television sports anchor. Amazing. Doing kind of what I'm doing now, sort of like in this context. But at the same time, there were just many times throughout that phase in my life while I was working in sports and media where I like questioned whether or not I was actually good at it, in comparison to other people, because I felt like I was working really hard and I was doing good work, but I wasn't maybe like breaking the kinds of stories that like would go super viral and like allow me to build my name or my profile up in the industry. And I worked in basketball in the NBA. And so it's a very small number of opportunities that are available there. And so there are just times where you really, I think, question your ability or your capacity to do things, even when people are telling you are doing a good job.
Totally. Yeah. That can be really difficult. Especially in something as competitive as I've heard from other people that like news broadcasting and sports stuff is just like very cutthroat.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like that. I think that was something that Michelle and I actually talked about as well, because I knew in doing research on her that she actually had a background in like broadcast journalism. Yeah. So we kind of have similar challenges that we face, but you just try to do the best that you can and show up every day. Even doing this podcast, I think there are many times where I go into this podcast like questioning whether or not I'm actually good at hosting this and asking questions of people, even though I have a background in journalism, right? But it's still, I don't know, like, I'm wondering for you, like, does that self-doubt ever go away, or is it something that you just learn to cope with? And I think that this is something that people face who are creative, like people who are YouTubers or people who are creators, right? Is like constantly wondering if what they're doing is good enough. So I'm wondering, like, for you, do you feel like you have better coping mechanisms to deal with that, or is it resolved? I imagine it's not resolved.
Yeah. It's funny you ask that, because I just like mental like block, and I like posted about it on my Instagram story and on my YouTube like community tab of, I'm an Enneagram 3. And so I put a lot of my worth into what I do, my job, my success, yada, 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 whatever it is that I view as success. And I think especially creating online content, it's so analytical. There's numbers that tell you like you did bad, you did good. Like this video sucks, this video is doing well, and it's getting pushed out. And then even on the other side of that, like I do brand management and content creation, social media stuff for clients. And so I put my worth in how their content is growing. And so if a certain platform isn't performing like I would like, I feel that mentally as like a reflection of my own self-worth, which clearly is not healthy and not good for me. And so it's like, my husband jokes, because it's like, he's not joking, but he says like every couple of months you come to me and you're like, I feel terrible because of YouTube. And he's like, I hear you, I'm just like on a loop.
It's cyclical, right? Yeah.
100%, where it's like, oh, things are good. I'm good now. Everything's fine. And then it's bad. And then so it's just a lot of up and down. So I think that's what I'm currently really investing time thinking into is like, how can I just be more present and be content with who I am as a person in my life, and not base my worth on what I am outputting and how much I am ticking off of my to-do list every day. I think that will probably be a lifelong struggle for me.
That is something that resonates with me, because I feel like I have gotten to a point where I'm aware of these things. I know that it's going to happen. But then even when they do happen, it's like, oh God, how come I can't get myself out of this faster? Like, I know that these periods are going to come, like they're just waves and ups and downs in life. But like, it's still, you still go through it. And when you go through it, it sucks. It sucks even more when you know, like, yeah, you're expecting it to come, and yet you still can't. There's really no, I don't know. There's really no way to actually completely rid yourself of feeling those ways in your life.
Yeah, I don't think so. And like, I think that you can just get better at it. And that takes work, practice, and being very present and active. And like, today, I am basing a lot of my worth in X. And to get out of that, I need to go for a walk, list the things I'm grateful for, whatever the tools that you have in your toolbox, whatever those are. And that's the step where I think I'm struggling, is recognizing like, hey, today is a day where I'm really basing my worth in blank. I need to take active steps. So I think that's the next thing that I need to do to help that. Because I saw a tweet the other day, I think Roberto Blake liked it, which is why it showed up on my feed, that someone said, everyone underestimates the mental health toll of being a YouTuber. And I think by extension, it also means by creating content and putting it out for the world to see, and then, having numbers be the estimate of that. And I think it's a toll that a lot of people feel.
Yeah. You're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position where you're sharing like these ideas with the world, and you're sharing some sort of creation with the world and expressing yourself, which feels good. But then when it goes out into the world, then it's subject to interpretation. And then there are going to be some people who absolutely love it. And then there are going to be, some people who absolutely hate it. And it's always like the people who don't like what you do that kind of like needle and like stick out, right?
Yeah. Why is that? I hate that. You can have 60 people tell you they love what you do, and one person says they hate you, and that's what you think about. It happens for me too, even with this podcast. We don't have a huge audience yet, but I've seen some videos that have done some of our videos have done well and like generated some views, and it's just like the one negative comment that I see. And it's not even it wasn't even like a terrible comment too. It was more like a critique. Like, and it was actually like more or less, it was good, like criticism, and I took it to heart. But at the same time, like when you are still being criticized, there is still a part of you that feels a little crappy about it. Like maybe that, I didn't do a good enough job. But I'm glad like I heard that feedback, but it still hurts, Yeah. You feel a little bit nitpicked, I think, sometimes by comments. And by you, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely feel that way. You mentioned like tools, that you have, that you're trying to implement to kind of cope with some of these moments with the challenges of being a creator. I know you mentioned like writing gratitudes down, or when we emailed, I mentioned to you that I practice meditation, and that's something that like has really helped me like build an awareness of all of my concerns about myself. But I'm wondering like what are some of the tools that you have in your toolkit that you use to kind of help you cope with some of the ups and downs of being a content creator?
Yeah, I think this also extends to just my tools that I use to just be Abbey. And that's just, I have anxiety and depression. And so a big part of that is I'm on medication. So I have just an awesome holistic psychiatrist that I work with. Her name is Kara. I love her. And, that's checking in regularly and making sure like that the game plan is good and that things are good. And I think having regular check-ins with like a professional is important. I also do yoga. I've been practicing yoga for a really long time, and now studios are in my area are opening up. So I joined a new studio, and that has been so life-giving. Just because I have like the monkey mind, this, like sometimes my brain just will not shut down. And yoga,
the constant chatter that just doesn't want to quit at all. What kind of yoga do you do? Do you do vinyasa yoga, or do you do yin or some other kind of yoga?
I mean, my preferred is vinyasa, just because I like to work up a sweat. I will take an occasional like yin or hatha class if I feel like I need it, but I love vinyasa. I just love doing the salutations and exploring the different poses, and that's been like a huge joy for me in the last, I've been going for like about 2 months now, because everything else has been closed. Everything's been so shut down in LA. So those are some tools that I use. I think those are things that help. My friend Ashlyn, I texted her. I was like, what do you do? Because like she's a photographer. She's amazing. And she said she likes to remind herself of, she says shalom to everybody, like when she's greeting people, and it's like peace. How is your peace? She says she likes to regularly remind herself, like, how is my peace? How am I protecting my peace? And my peace is not what I do. It is what I offer to the world. It's the love of God. It's caring for other people, or whatever that is to you. That's more important than what's on your LinkedIn account or whatever it is.
Yeah. I think I try my best as much as possible to kind of think about, enjoying the process rather than like focusing so much on the outcome or the result. But it's so difficult because I feel like culturally, like that's what we are taught to be very focused on results. And especially too, like, as you mentioned earlier with YouTube, like, in order to grow your channel, it's best to really like look into your analytics and pay attention to what is and isn't working about your videos and optimizations. And I imagine that just gets overwhelming from time to time.
It does. I think part of me really enjoys that. And I think that's why I've stuck at it for so long, and why I'm doing social media for other people is I do enjoy the game of it. Like, okay, what can we do to like increase this? And so in some ways I enjoy it, but when it's not doing well and I cannot figure it out, it can be so frustrating. And I just feel it's hard.
How often does that happen for you, where you create a video and you think, and you've done like your research, your homework, and you've looked into like the analytics, and you're like, okay, I've made a video that I'm pretty sure has good odds that this is gonna like do well, and then it doesn't do well, and you can't control it. Like what do you do in moments like that when those situations arise?
Yeah, I think at this point I see it and I just say, all right, on to the next. Is kind of where my mindset is. And I think part of that is just the nature of YouTube creation, is that it is never ending. And then, if you don't, when you post a video, you're already behind. Like, it's like you should already be working on next week's schedule or like it feels like it's never ending. So when I see that, I'm like, man, that didn't do well. It's like, all right, on to the next. I guess.
Gotcha. Abbey, I want to talk to you also a little bit more about like why you decided to start a YouTube channel. And you touched on that a little bit a moment ago in terms of, your manager suggesting to you that you start creating content on YouTube. What did the thought ever cross your mind before your manager brought up the idea to you? Because I wonder if there are a lot of people are like strict traditionalists too when it comes to like theater and acting and whatnot, where they're like, I would like to make it in that venue, right? Like I want to make it on stage, I want to make it in television or in movies and whatnot, and sometimes going the YouTube route isn't necessarily what you might have dreamed or imagined for yourself. So I'm just kind of curious if YouTube, like even before you had that conversation with your manager, was something that like crossed your mind at all.
Yeah, I had always wanted to start one. I had made videos and just never posted them. I was just really afraid of what other people would say. Like, would my, friends, I'm using quotations, like judge me? Would they make fun of me? What would this be like if I'm online making something? I was really freaked out. And so I didn't. If I hadn't had that mindset, I probably would have started in college, like before. But I think it was that push of having, someone, I'm no longer with that manager, but just having somebody of, authority tell me, hey, like you really should do this. It would be helpful. That gave me felt like it gave me the freedom to just go for it. It turns out if people don't people are not watching my channel. Like friends of people who aren't interested in this aren't going to take time out of their day to go watch a YouTube video. So I feel like those fears were unwarranted. It was more of just getting over like my own personal fears of like putting yourself out there in such a vulnerable way.
How would you do that in your past life, like performing on stage? Like, did you have stage fright at all? Did you have like these moments where before you were going to go on stage or you felt like, oh God, can I actually do this?
I don't think so. The thing with theater and the thing that I really miss about theater, and I think that what really drew me in to the community and even just filmmaking in general, is that you cannot do theater alone. You need other people.
Yes. Okay.
Whether it be the cast, the director, lighting, crew, and then the same in like a indie film set, you've got the DP and the grips and like the sound guy and your fellow actors. Like it is a collaborative community. And I think, I know I grew up feeling very alone in terms of like finding the right friends or group of people. So whenever I was in the show, I had an immediate group of friends and community around me, and we're all making something, which is why I love making things. So it was that communal element that was really just like, we're a team and we're doing this together. And we're going to make it the best that we can. That was really exciting to me. And that's something I deeply miss because I have not done theater since college. Haven't really tried. I think I'm fulfilling the artistic need doing my own thing. Like I feel very fulfilled in that way. But the community aspect I do miss.
Gotcha. Okay. That's very interesting. I never would have thought about that, especially as someone like myself who is just like a consumer of content, right? Like a consumer of movies and television, and having gone to like a couple plays and musicals in my life. Like I never really think about the communal aspect and like the team atmosphere that's there. It really sounds like it relieves some of that pressure versus like when you're creating content on YouTube, everything is on you because you're the camera person, you're the editor, you're the person on screen. So I never really thought of it like that. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that can be hard about YouTube when you're just getting started, is that you don't have any accountability or community helping you move forward. And I don't know, have you read Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Project?
I have not read it, but I did listen to her podcast quite a bit, like a couple of years ago.
So she has the theory of the 4 tendencies of like why we do the things that we do or what motivates us to like get our habits or our goals done. And I am 100%. I am an outward people pleaser. So I will, like, if you, Jon, wanted me to be on a podcast, I would show up and be on the podcast, do everything I need to do. But if I, Abby, really needed to go to yoga today for my mental health, but no one else is coming to class with me, I might not go. Does that make sense? So like,
yes.
It was really helpful for me in just staying regular. And I would say this to anyone else who's listening or wanting to start a YouTube channel. If you are like me, get someone to hold you accountable. Eventually, you'll grow an audience who will hold you accountable. eventually you'll feel like, oh, the YouTube algorithm is holding me accountable. I gotta upload at least once a week. But until you get there, get someone in your life to text you every Thursday or whenever your upload day is and be like, hey, where's the video? Like, when am I going to see it? Like, I can't wait to watch it. Like, you need to have someone in your corner rooting for you and that you can hold, that you can please, you know, at the same time, like achieving your goals. It's like a sneaky way.
Gotcha. So who was that for you early on in your journey? Was it your manager or was it friends or family? Especially like as the YouTube channel was just, you know, not where it is today, where you have like over, you know, you have like five, what is it? I can't even think of the right number here. Not five, is it five figures?
No, we're at 31K right now.
Yeah. 31,000 YouTube subscribers at this point. Yeah. Who was that for you?
My mom.
Oh,
my
okay.
lovely mom.
Wow. And she just was like sending you like words of affirmations, just kind of like reminding you that you were capable of doing it.
My mom is an Enneagram 8.
Okay.
How much do you know about the Enneagram?
I don't know that much. I know a little bit just based on now, like having watched some of your videos and also having watched some of Leeann and Michelle's videos. But
so Michelle is
I
8.
Gotcha.
So my mom gets things done. She goes for it. She is a fierce fighter. So she's a wonderful mother, but I was never nurtured in the accountability phase. It was more like, where's the video?
Okay.
Like I'm waiting for it. Like very encouraging, but like she doesn't take anyone's BS. Like she will get, you know, she says she's going to do something, she does it. If I say I'm going to do a video every Thursday, then she expects me to do a video every Thursday. And I think that kind of intensity and zest for committing to something and doing it full, like do it, Abby, go, like that I really needed, because I was so held back by fear and anxiety about the whole process. And she has just been an incredible helper and supporter, and 100% would not have a YouTube channel if she hadn't come alongside me in the first couple of years. Like 100% wouldn't have continued.
That's one thing to be grateful for, at least a mom who could light a fire under your belly to get things done.
We all need, she is a good person for our family because we don't have any 8s. We just,
Gotcha.
So she keeps us all together.
So yeah, you know what, since you asked me about that in terms of like my knowledge of Enneagrams, I'm curious how you discovered the subject, discovered the topic, what led you to it, and then even beyond that, deciding to niche down your channel to focus on Enneagram related content, because there was a point in time where you were kind of just doing a lot of different things on your channel.
Yeah, I started just doing sketch comedy because that's what I was studying at UCB, and that was what was fun for me. So I was like, I'm just going to make a bunch of sketches, throw them up. I was writing sketches in class at UCB, and then I would film them and throw them up there. And so I was like, well, I guess my channel is a sketch comedy channel, which is really difficult to grow, especially now. I think back in the day, in the early days of YouTube, it was easier to grow a sketch comedy channel. And so my channel is just all over the place. I would have a video about like, I don't know, some TV show, and then like a video like of just random thing that came into my brain. Like it was just like a lot of things going on. I think that the good thing about that is that I was exploring a lot of things. I was making content about anything and everything I was interested in. And one of the things I got interested in was the Enneagram. My roommate was super into it, and I won an Instagram giveaway. I got a copy of The Road Back to You by Ian Cron and Suzanne Stabile. And so I read that, and as everybody did when it came out, it got super popular, and it was a great introduction book to the Enneagram. And I read the Enneagram 3 chapter, and it totally blew my mind. Like I read things about myself that I had never put into words that perplexed me and that made my life harder and made my life confusing and made me confusing. And so I saw something, there in the Enneagram that gave me some enlightenment. It made me feel more free. It made me feel less alone. I'm not the only one who struggles with this. Oh my gosh, like there are tools that I can do. I can recognize these things. And so I just, and then because my channel was just an extension of everything I was interested in, I started making enneagram videos. I had them up for like a couple of months, and then the YouTube algorithm picked it up. Google Trends was, enneagram searches for Google Trends was super high at that point. This is around the end of 2019. And I don't know if it was the book that came out, but it was just, people were searching on Google for Enneagram, and my videos were coming up in the suggested. And so YouTube was pushing them out in the search as well. So I just started getting views, and I had a channel of like 2,000 subscribers. It was really small. And suddenly I was getting all these new subscribers and lots of new views, and it's all to the Enneagram. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do with this? And I'm friends with Leeann and He used to work for vidIQ, and now he's gone off and he does his own consulting, but he has a YouTube channel and he does YouTube consulting things, and he's the best. I met him at VidCon a few years ago, and he has just been very supportive of me from when I had 400 subscribers to now. He has always been a huge help to me. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, like, can you help me? Because I don't know what to do with my channel. Like, I feel like I'm all over the place, and these videos are doing really well, but I don't know what to make. And it wasn't growing the way I wanted it to. And so he was like, well, you need to niche down. Like, you can't have a video about Stranger Things and the Enneagram and MLMs. Like, if there's a lot going on, no one knows why they're showing up. Like, it's hard to subscribe to something that's all over the place. And that scared me at first, like, because I had been so unhindered by any categories. I was like, oh, I don't want to just be the Enneagram. And he's like, well, do you want to be an expert at one thing or an expert at nothing? I was like, well, you put it that way, I guess I want to be an expert in one thing. And the Enneagram was the thing of all the videos, the thing that I felt like I could make 1,000 more videos about. I just felt like there were endless possibilities there, and it excited me. So I stuck with that. And from then on, I only put out videos about the Enneagram. And that's when the channel really started to grow, because I started to say, hey, if you want a place to have educational, funny YouTube Enneagram content, like, this is it. And that was really helpful.
So these days, what does your content ideation process look like? You know, you mentioned there that you felt like this energy that, hey, I could actually like make 1,000 videos on this very topic. So how do you go about like coming up with like new ideas for sketches and content that you create these days for your channel?
Well, I have a Trello board. And so every idea that comes into my head, every idea that's suggested that I like in the comments on Instagram or on YouTube, they go into the Trello. And they're all categorized as like sketch videos, like funny videos, like Enneagram types as girlfriends or as boyfriends. And all of those are in one category. And then I have like educational videos, which are more like sit down, talking head, like let's work through one thing together. Let's learn one thing together. I'm also trying to expand my niche a little bit because interest in the Enneagram has gone down, just trend wise. So me and a couple other Enneagram creators have noticed a huge drop in views. And so I reached out to Leeann again and I was like, hey, so my niche is very niche now and no one's looking at it. And he was like, well, you need to expand your content buckets. So start trying things out, but it has to be something that your Enneagram audience and who you're trying to talk to with those videos would also be interested in. And so like a natural segue for me is mental health, because that is so integral to who I am and also to how I feel like people grow as in their personalities and in their personal development is taking care of that huge aspect of your health. So, and because I struggle with anxiety, I was like, all right, I'm going to make 10 videos about anxiety, pepper them into the content and see if any of them take off. I'm still in the middle of that process. So far, no luck. They have not been doing very well, but I mean, that's to be expected when you're trying something new. So I think I'm in a little bit of an experimentation phase of like, all right, well, how can I expand my niche without alienating the people that I do want to talk to and reach? And I'm in a learning process there right now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the content that you're doing on mental health. I mean, I reached out to you. When I sent my email to you, I really enjoyed the video that you did on Naomi Osaka. For those people out there who aren't familiar with Naomi, she is probably the best women's tennis player in the world right now. And she had withdrawn from the French Open and didn't play in Wimbledon this year either. And she had admitted that she was dealing with some challenges with mental health. So yeah, I appreciated the video that you made on it. It was great. It was your insights on the topic were were just very helpful, I would say, for someone like myself that, I like everybody else. We all go through like ups and downs in our life. And I think it's good, but at the same time, like you're saying, it can be a challenge where, the audience has these certain expectations of what your content is, and now you're starting to make a little bit of a shift. But at the same time, the videos, even though they might not be getting as many views as your videos before, they're still getting like a decent amount, correct? Like,
yeah, I mean, things are still, I'm not in the red. My analytics, I mean, I'm in the green, but I am not growing as fast as I was in 2020, and I'm not growing as fast as I would like to be. So part of me felt like I was like spinning my wheels a little bit. I feel like I have a lot to give with, my creativity and my passion for social. And I was like, am I wasting my time putting so much effort into this channel when it's growing so slowly? And I want to have a house someday, and I want to have a retirement account. And like, am I spinning my wheels here, knowing that I want to be a mom soon? And should I just go get a 9-to-5 and stop freelancing and stop trying this YouTube thing because it's clearly growing way too slow? And that's still something I'm considering, although I'm interviewing and stuff for other types of jobs that might take my attention away from that. But at the same time, it's like my baby. It's like I have put so much time and love into those videos and into the channel. And my dream would be for it to be a life sustaining, like to generate income so that, we can have a life based on that, which is everybody's dream. Like, what a great job, right? It's just not there. So that's hard because it does take so much time to put into a channel, and time that maybe could be spent working for someone else who can give you healthcare and a 401k, stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from, because I've been in that situation myself, even early on in my career, where I was freelancing a lot and trying to find, different opportunities just to break in. And when you're younger, like you feel like time is unlimited, but like, I'm assuming we're like in the same age range. Like I'm almost in my mid 30s now, actually.
I just turned 30.
And so, yeah. So once you get into your 30s, you start to think about those things, like you said. And I also saw on your Instagram that you had just recently gotten married about a year ago, right? To your husband.
Year, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So congratulations on that. But at the same time, like you said, there's, you get to this stage in life where you still have time, but it's starting to become a little bit more limited.
You are so speaking to me right now. I just I feel like that's totally what happened. It's like this was fun with my passion, and then I turned 30 and I got married, and I was like, life is short, and I want a family, and I have all these things that I need to do. And so it kind of lights this fire, this unfortunate practical fire where, I'm just not quite sure what the next year is going to bring. And part of the conversation, going back to the beginning of what we're talking about, of being present and not finding your worth in what you do. And I think that's a big part of my thinking through this, is like, hey, if you stop making videos, you're still just as worthy and just as, beautiful soul as you were before. obviously, but apparently I need to tell myself this because it feels like such a failure to give up on something that you worked on for so many years. But I think my goal for my life would be to be able to be happy and content in who I am, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what job I'm doing. So that would be the goal.
Yeah. No, it's so challenging, right? Like, I think the time just goes by so quickly because, like I said, when you're in your 20s and you're experimenting with all of these things, and you know, like, hey, I'm not hitting on all of them, but it's fine. I got time. Like, and then eventually you hit this stage in life where you're like, oh wait, I don't know if I have any more bullets in the chamber for myself to actually keep experimenting. But you also want to figure out how to have a balance, right? Like, you don't want to necessarily just be all about working the 9 to 5. Like, you want to also get the most out of life at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was feeling when I was waitressing and nannying, and I was working other people's dreams, and I was really unhappy. I think I will probably always need my own creative outlet, which is why I love freelancing. It gives me the breath to go to yoga in the middle of the day, to take on different types of clients, to work on my own channel, to work on my own, social media passions. And, and I'm holding space for that to potentially still be, my lifestyle. I am searching for other freelancing gigs as well at the moment. So who knows? I'm a little bit in a crossroads, but yeah, the YouTube algorithm is wild because one video can pop off and your channel can grow from that. And so a lot of it is just putting in the time and consistency and not giving up. And so part of me is like, how maybe I just need to hold out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's that, yeah, that's a big challenge too. It's just like knowing when do I stop?
Yeah.
Like, there's no real firm indicator that, hey, now is the time to quit. And quitting doesn't mean that you lost. It's just like you sometimes have to like fold your hand and just kind of move on to something else. But then there's also that like tinge or feeling of like, but wait, what if I stop and then I like totally miss out on like this opportunity? It's FOMO, right? This is what it essentially is.
It's FOMO. Yeah. And like, honestly, the idea of just not putting out videos for like a month, like, makes me so sad. Like, the idea of like letting it just die. Like, it's such a source of community. It has, especially, I just started a Patreon, and that has been so wonderful. Like, all those people are just so supportive and sweet. And we're all chatting on the Discord, and just a bunch of Enneagram nerds just talking about the Enneagram on Discord. But like, that's been so life-giving. So,
are all the people on your Patreon, are they people just kind of spread out around the world who have discovered you on YouTube, or are there some people who are also local to you in LA? Mostly United States. So one of my benefits is I send like thank you, like snail mail letters to everybody who lives in the US. And so it's just mostly around Montana, Texas. I have everyone's mailing addresses. So that's how I know where they're from. How did you decide on what benefits to offer in your Patreon, like for each tier? Because I know you have like 3 tiers that you offer to potential patrons. Yeah,
I just brainstormed like things that were feasible for me to fit into my everyday life. I may have gone a little overboard because I am having some trouble keeping up with all my promises. Just not fully understanding what it means to run a Discord and be a part of a Discord. I didn't realize how intensive it was. Although like everyone's been super cool as I, navigate that, as a very newbie person. But yeah, I just kind of brainstormed like what would be fun, what would be cool, what can I achieve? And so, yeah, my first tier has access to the Discord. It's you get wallpapers for your phone that are like Enneagram specific every month, and Enneagram journal prompts. And I'm also putting out like blog posts and stuff on the Patreon. And then the benefits just go up from there. So,
and then balancing your work too with YouTube, and then also like the freelancing that you're doing these days as like a content creator / content strategist and whatnot. I imagine it's not to say that it's easy, but it's much easier to balance that versus like if you had a day job, right? Because the freelance stuff, I imagine, is just it's project to project type of deal.
Yeah, that's the freedom of it, is that I don't have a time I need to be in front of the computer from this time to this time. I just have a bunch of projects I need to get done before this deadline. Yeah, I'm managing 2 different social clients right now, and one of them is their Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'm shooting and doing all the content for that. And then the other one, I'm just a social media manager. So I'm just doing like influencer seeding and marketing and giveaways and doing all the posts, so that's way less time intensive than my other client because I'm not doing any of the content. Yeah. So and I enjoy that. I enjoy that work too, because it's very internal. It's very like, all right, Abby, sit down and hammer it out. And it's fun to grow someone else's account because it feels less personal than it does when I put out an Instagram video or something like that. Like when their video does well, it's like, yes, but it doesn't say anything about who I am. It's not my face on there, so it's a little bit easier to do and a little bit more freeing to do other people's social media. Also, it pays the bills, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Are there any tips or like tactics as far as, growth for brands that you've worked with that would also be relevant to someone growing a personal following for themselves, either on YouTube or now these days like on TikTok or Instagram?
I think all the platforms have their own recipes. So I personally am obsessed with TikTok. And that's the platform I've had the most success with one of my clients. We've been able to just get a lot of videos popping over there and grow their community in a way that I don't believe is possible on Instagram. TikTok has that fresh community feel that YouTube had back in the day, that Instagram had back in the day. It feels communal in a way that no other app can. And that allows brands, I think, to really connect with other people. And so that has been really fun for me, just to explore a new platform. And then if you're trying to grow on Instagram, everyone's pushing video and people on YouTube are like, duh, like we've been doing video for so long. But I think the more comfortable you can get with making video a huge part of your strategy, the better your engagement is going to be.
Yeah. What kind of content has worked for you on TikTok? Is it stuff that's like rooted in story or like educational, entertainment, or like a mix of all the above? Like, have you noticed any kinds of like trends in terms of like the kinds of content that would pop off for someone on there?
It depends. So we've noticed that shorter the better. So like 15 seconds and under can really pop off pretty easy.
Almost like a Vine then from back in the day.
Yeah. If what you have to say is important and appealing, people will stick around for it. But it's got to be really hook you for if it's more than 15 seconds. Things that are a little bit controversial, or someone will immediately comment and be like, that's not true, like blah, 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 or I can't believe you would say that. Those I welcome with open arms, because it helps. It really helps when people engage with you and have a gut reaction to whatever it is that you're saying or doing. That's really helpful. And then also what I love about TikTok is the duets, stitches, comment replies. It's so interactive. So you can stitch a video with like Selena Gomez. You can stitch a video with another content creator that says something really funny, and then you can bounce off and like create something from that. Like that part, I think, is something new and fresh and can really grow your account, because I feel like you can really embrace your creativity in that sphere. Just try new things.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, as we run up against the clock here, Abby, I want to, again, thank you for your time to chat with me for this hour and to be very open about all of the things that, you've gone through in your career as a creator and as a creative. I think people will, take solace and inspiration from that to know that, hey, look, this is hard work. This is not easy. This is not an easy path. Like on the surface, it might seem like all fun and games, but it is definitely a lot of ups and downs, throughout the journey. As we close this out, I'm curious if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who is just getting started as a creator, whatever platform it is. Maybe it's TikTok these days, or it's YouTube. What is something that you would advise them to do or be aware of as they start to embark on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this from so many other people, but I think it sticks around because it's true. And that is, don't get stuck in perfectionism and don't get stuck in the ideation. Like, just put something out, even if it's not exactly what you wanted. Making a video, just because you got to get a video up, does hurt your artistic soul a little bit, but in the long run, it really helps. It's going to help you be a better creator, be a better writer, whatever it is that you're making. I think just putting it out is more important than it being the most perfect thing in the entire world. And then just consistency. Just don't stop. I think that's what people get really excited and they do something for a couple months and then they give up. Mm-hmm, yeah. So I think if you just you gotta be in it for the marathon, because it is a marathon, and on any platform it is a marathon, and find tools to help you stay in a good mindset for that marathon.
Great. Well, Abby, thank you so much for joining me and chatting with me. This was fun. This was a fun conversation to have. I appreciate you for coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, I got a few quick things for all of you before you go. First of all, if you enjoyed this episode of the Videocraft Show, share it with a friend, share it with someone who you would think would find the content valuable. And find the show notes for the episode and previous ones over at videocraftshow.com. And third, if you're a content creator that is struggling to organize and script your ideas, we have got a resource for you. You just got to get a copy of our free script template. It can help you structure your videos, save you hours of time from filming in the process. To download it, just go to videocraftshow.com, or if you're watching here on YouTube, find the link in the description below and just subscribe to our email list. It'll get delivered straight to your inbox right after you sign up. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We're always trying to make the show better for listeners and viewers just like you. So your feedback, both good and bad, helps us to improve. And if you are watching the show on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and leave us a comment too, because we read all of them and we try to respond to all of them too. Now, thanks again to my team for helping me to produce the podcast. Always got to give a special shout out to Nikki Vicente, as well as Ingrid Saraiba and Paulo Lopez for all of their hard work in terms of getting this show up and running. We could not do it without you. And when I say we, I mean I could not do it without you. So if you want your videos edited to look just like this, then you can visit videohusky.com to learn more. And that is going to do it for this episode, this edition of the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. We'll see you next week on another one. Until then, take care.